What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to be taking a look at the other deck, which went and won the Gen Con Vault Tour. You see, there were two Vault Tours at Gen Con. There was the Sealed Vault Tour, won by Devon, that we looked at, well, probably yesterday, if the upload schedule holds true. Well, today we need to look at the Snappy Pariah, love that deck name, with which Trevor May went and won the Archon Vault Tour. That is to say, the Vault Tour where you could pick whichever deck you wanted and go and play that. And make no mistake about it, this is an extremely good deck. It's essentially got everything that you would want in a deck. And some people have been slightly surprised that a Sanctum deck went and won a Vault Tour. Sanctum's not supposed to be that good. But if we start off having a look at Sanctum in this deck, there are two Doorstep to Heaven. Doorstep to Heaven gives you an amber bonus, and it reads, each player with 6 or more amber is reduced to 5. It is one of the best emergency stop reaping cards that we have, and there's 2 of them in this deck. That shouldn't surprise you at this stage that this is such a good deck. Having 2 Doorstep to Heaven is phenomenal. Now, this deck does have bait and switch in, but it doesn't have too much to protect. And remember that we did get an errata, which came back to haunt bait and switch. Bait and switch can now only steal you a maximum of 2 amber, which makes too much to protect a better card nowadays. But when you've got 2 Doorstep to Heaven, you don't mind so much. And that really is the first thing that jumps out to me about this deck. Now, if we continue having a look through Sanctum, the other thing that we see here is an awful lot of do, can't touch this. There are 2 Potion of Invulnerability, those being artifacts with an Omni ability and an Amber bonus. Omni ability meaning you can use it regardless of your active house for the turn, and you sacrifice it, and for the remainder of your turn, each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage. Yeah, that's pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. That's gonna help. Not only that, but there are 2 Protectrix, a 5-power creature, and when you reap, you may fully heal a creature. If you do, that creature cannot be dealt damage for the remainder of the turn. That's going to help a lot in terms of just not getting beaten up. Now, you do have Bulwark there that gives each of its neighbours +2 armour, which is lovely, but it's no invulnerability. Still does a rather similar thing. And if we step outside of Sanctum for just a moment, over in Shadows, we do have the appropriately named Shadow Self, and Shadow Self takes all the damage that would be done to its neighbours, as long as they are not spectres. So that's really all adding up to a deck where, yeah, you're unlikely to be doing a huge amount of damage all the time here. This deck has protection. Now, speaking of protection, a card that really wants to be protected is Frankus. A card that, frankly, I don't know if we've ever spoken about on this channel, which is impressive given how many videos we've made. Frankus doesn't come up too often, but after an enemy creature is destroyed fighting it, Frankus captures an amber. Now, this is beautiful, because capturing amber means your opponent can't spend it to forge a key. And sure, they can just on their next turn destroy Frankus and get the amber back, but that still means there has been a turn where they've not forged a key, and that's fine. We've also got Champion Tabris that when it fights, captures an amber. Now remember, you've got to survive the fight in order to use that, but that's fine, because you've got 2 armor and all of these invulnerable things running around. I like this Sanctum suite far more than your average. Now, there are a couple of other cards there. There is a Cleansing Wave. Heal 1 damage from each creature. Gain 1 damage for each creature healed this way. And that's actually a beautiful card because it puts you in a situation where you can actually kind of almost amber rush using Sanctum. Sanctum is not a house that's known for rushing and grabbing amber. Sanctum is your, I'll capture a bit of amber, I'll fight because I've got a bunch of armor kind of house. Yeah, that is not what Cleansing Wave does. Cleansing Wave is lovely. Of course, you don't want too much invulnerability. You want to get a bit of damage on some of your creatures, but this can be lovely. The thing to remember about Cleansing Wave, it heals 1 damage from each creature and gains 1 damage for each creature healed this way. Yes, it heals your opponent's creatures. Yes, you get Amber when you do. We also see Inspiration that lets you ready and use a friendly creature, which, well, basically lets you use a creature earlier than you should be able to. And a Gorm of Orm, sacrifice it, destroy an artifact. I told you that this deck had a little bit of everything, and that includes a way to get rid of artifacts. You need some artifact hate in your deck, because some decks really rely on artifacts. Gorm of Orm is here to do exactly that. Although, to be fair, in Shadows you've also got Customs Office. Your opponent must pay you 1 amber in order to use an artifact. So even if you can't get rid of it, you can still make them pay for using it. Speaking of Shadows, if we have a little bit of a look, Shadows is supposed to steal amber, and there's a bit of stealing here. We've got bait and switch. Now, it's not as good as it used to be. It's now capped at stealing 2 amber, but you're still stealing 2 amber here. That's still alright. We've got Relentless Whispers. It deals 2 damage to a creature, and if it destroys that creature, you go and steal yourself an amber. That can be kind of nice. Customs Office isn't stealing amber per se, but it still means your opponent's got to pay you to use their artifact, so that's kind of nice. And then we got 2 copies of Dodger that when they fight, steal an amber. Now, generally speaking, Dodger's kind of annoying because it's only got 5 power, so it's not going to be able to destroy too many creatures. But then remember that you've got those 2 Potion of Invulnerability, which can be used on a Shadow's turn, and then potentially you've got your Dodgers stealing extra amber. That sounds good to me. Now, we've also got a bit of cheeky damage here. We've got 2 copies of Poison Wave, gives you an amber and deals 2 damage to each creature. Yes, that does include your own. We've got the aforementioned Relentless Whispers. And we've got Special Delivery here, that is an artifact with an Omni ability and an amber bonus. You may sacrifice it, deal 3 damage to a flank creature, and if it is destroyed, you go ahead and purge it. We've also got a copy of Light Out, which isn't cheeky damage, but it does make your opponent pick up 2 of their creatures while giving you an amber bonus. So it doesn't do cheeky damage, but it does get their creatures off the board, so a similar kind of thing going on here. And then we've got 1 copy of Bad Penny. Bad Penny, when it's destroyed, goes back to your hand. Sometimes you get a really lovely combo here with something like Seeker Needle. So every turn you can just reap with it, destroy it to gain an amber, play it back down, rinse and repeat. There's nothing really like that here, but it's still a creature that bounces back to your hand. Yeah, it's not the best deck for Bad Penny. Sorry, Bad Penny. And then moving into Dis, what we really want to see is Disruption. And we've got it. We have 2 copies of Ember Imp. Your opponent cannot play more than 2 cards each turn. And we've got Control the Weak. When you play it, you choose a house on your opponent's identity card, and they must choose that house as their active next turn. And we've got Restringuntus. When you play it, you choose a house, and your opponent cannot choose that house until Restringuntus leaves play. They are like the 3 cards that you really want in a Dis deck. And they're there. You can make an argument for, say, Succubus, which is very disruptive, and that's not in here, but come on. We're not making our own decks here. This is a good suite of Dis. And then we've got a whole bunch of other cards. We've got Fear, that returns an enemy creature to its hand. Fits nicely with Lights Out. We've got Gateway to Dis, which is a proper board wipe card. Now, you have to gain 3 chains, but it destroys each creature, yours and your opponent's. So what we see here is an actual board wipe, and if you run down the list of things you want in a Keyforge deck, you need cards that stop your opponent forging, Doorstep to Heaven. You need some Amber control, where we've seen a bunch of stealing and capturing in this deck. You need some artifact control, we've seen it with Gorm of Orm, and you need proper board wiping. We've seen plenty of cheeky damage, plenty of ways to make your creatures invincible to then attack, but this is an actual factual board wipe. Now, Free Fates is not quite as board wipey. It destroys the 3 most powerful creatures, but if played correctly, it can be. We've got Charette, which when you play it captures 3 amber, which fits very nicely with the capturing and stealing we've seen previously. We've got a Pit Demon that's got an action that steals an amber, and you'll notice here that even when we're in Dis, you've got Charette for capturing, Pit Demon for stealing. It works quite nicely. And then we've got 2 copies of Shula. When you play it, if your opponent has 4 amber or more, you steal 1. So we've got the disruption we'd want in a Dis suite, and we've got amber stealing and capturing. This is nice. There's also 1 copy of Tolus. Tolus is a card we have to be extremely careful about, because with Tolus, it's got elusive, it's a 1-power creature, and each time a creature is destroyed, its opponent gains an amber. So if you're going and taking out a whole bunch of creatures, this is very, very nice. But if your opponent's taking out your creatures, then this is a terrible thing that you do not want down on the field. You've got to play it correctly, but the fact of the matter is this can be really good at gaining you amber, especially if you play it down right as you're in a position to destroy and your opponent frankly isn't. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. This was an Archon tournament. It was a tournament where we would expect to have phenomenal decks that look phenomenal, and well, we're not disappointed, ladies and gentlemen. This seems to be a really, truly phenomenal deck. It's pretty gosh darned awesome. So there we go. I think this is a really good deck, but I would be very interested to know what you think about this deck. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about games like Keyforge and any others that take my fancy. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.